Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. Brought to you by Blue Sky Business Consulting. We discuss 5 questions in about 15 minutes. Hello and welcome again to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. I'm very excited to welcome my new friend. This is Karen Laos. She and I met on a separate podcast it's been a couple of months now, but we kind of just have hit it off. And I am excited to have her joining me on the podcast to talk about leadership in teams. And Karen is also the founder of her own company, Karen Laos Consulting, and located in San Francisco, California. So Karen, excited to talk with you. Thanks for jumping on the podcast with me today. Tell the folks a little bit more about what you're working on.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. Well, I left my corporate job in 2020 to focus on a very important mission, which is to eradicate self-doubt in 10 million women in the next 10 years. And I do that. Now, I know that sounds like a lofty goal, but I do that through keynote speaking, specifically giving women confident communication strategies so that they can advance their businesses as well as their careers. And frankly, it applies to all genders, so that's really important to share.
Well, it does, but I love that you're approaching to help our good, as I call them, sisters in business, help them feel like they have some equal footing on the playing field a little bit, because I know it can be intimidating. The guys don't get it. At least I don't think I still get it, but it is important to help make sure everybody, and this is a leadership principle, quite frankly, so this is a little bonus tip for everybody that's watching and listening, but it is important to make sure you're as inclusive as you can and that you're aware of the people and helping them to feel empowered to speak up, to share ideas, to comment, to do all those things. But it is helpful when the individuals, male or female, have that confidence to speak up and know how to do it in a respectful way, but in a confident way. So I love what you're doing. Very important.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Karen, let's jump to our questions then. Question number 1. Occasionally it happens where a company or a team kind of falls into a little bit of a lull in their energy levels. What can leaders do to infuse energy into their teams?
One of the first things is to be curious and ask questions. Too often we are going, as you know, Sean, we're just going so fast and we're doing our to-do list. We're doing all the things like knocking out our tasks, as opposed to saying, hey, let's take a moment, or even having a brainstorm session. Let's take 15 minutes for us all to just jump in with new ideas. And I feel like being curious and being innovative is something that we often don't take the time to do. We are so fixated on just getting a job done, as opposed to carving out time for creativity. And a lot of times people say, well, I'm not very creative. Who am I to be innovative? And yet we all have it in us. We haven't created space. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, we all have that creative ability. It's just been lying dormant. And it doesn't always have to be with finger paints or whatever else. There's a lot of different ways to be creative. So I like that.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay. Question number 2, how can leaders promote learning in their company?
Oh, this is a big one. Asking people. I think so many of the answers that I'm going to give you today, Sean, are related to asking, because we're so focused usually on telling. So when we ask people, hey, what would be helpful for you? Just before this call, I did a keynote virtually, and there were 332 women there, and probably some men as well. But right afterward, people were saying, this was so good. We need more opportunities like this. So providing those opportunities, but first asking people, what do you want? What do you want to learn about? And I find that so many leaders are trying to figure out, racking their brains going, what would people want? What can I offer? And if we just took the time to ask them, it would make a huge difference. It'd be a lot more efficient as well as effective, and to help people move with where they want to go. And frankly, it will help with the retaining more people, as well as having a more productive workforce.
Oh, great points. Love it. All right. Question number 3. What's one tip for effective delegation?
Number 1, I'm gonna suggest you make a list, and on it's 2 columns. On one side, put what you can control, other side, put what you can't. And sometimes that's just helpful first to go, yeah, what is the playing field, first of all? And then secondly, asking people, what opportunities are you looking for? Because I find that a lot of times we all want to control, I think most people don't delegate because they want things to be done the way that they want to do them and get them done. But if we simply ask people and think about a mindset shift of, if I delegate, it actually gives people opportunity that might not have had it otherwise. So what if I ask them for what projects they might want to work on? And then giving people, perhaps starting, especially if you don't know somebody that well, a smaller project and then a little bigger project and a bigger project, so that frankly, a lot of this is just getting out of our own way. And I will tell you, as a control freak myself, I will tell you, it is very hard sometimes to do that. And we can't control if people are going to make mistakes and that kind of thing, but the payoff is so much greater. We have to recognize that the short-term pain of letting something go in somebody else's hands with the risk that it might not get done the way we want is something that is worth it in the end for that long-term gain. Because the other thing that I found is sometimes when I did trust somebody to get something done and delegated it, I'm amazed at, wow, they did that in a way that I never would have thought, and it was so much better than I would have done it.
Great comments, Karen, because that is part of the risk, if you want to call it that, of letting go and letting someone else do it. But it is amazing how many times they see things from a slightly different perspective and come with a unique idea that we hadn't even thought of. That happens a lot. So I've heard that a lot and I've experienced it a lot. So I like that tip. All right, question number 4. How can leaders effectively communicate things like their vision and their mission and their values of the company or the team for that matter to the employees? How can that effectively be done?
First thing is to figure out what that all is, making sure, because I do work with a lot of executive teams, and sometimes I'll actually have them go around and say, what is the vision of the company, and write it on a card and see how different the versions are. Even on the leadership team, which is supposed to be aligned.
Right.
It's amazing how easy just things get lost in translation. So the number one tip is, I would say, make sure that your own leadership team is aligned on that. And then cascading it in a way where it is very simple, because too often what happens is with it, whether it's a mission statement or a vision statement, we make them so long with these fancy words that nobody really gets, and we think we have to do it like that. But the simplest ones are the best. I mean, think about Nike's whole method, like, just do it. It's so simple. And so the simpler we can make it and then communicate that through video, I find most people don't do that. Most companies will send out an email, or they might do a big Teams or Zoom meeting. But I would recommend a 1-minute video from the CEO or somebody in the C-suite who wants to share it and send that out to the whole team. Because there's nothing like video to make somebody feel more personally connected with you, rather than what everybody else does in email. So you'll stand out even more.
That's a great idea. I don't know that I've had anybody recommend using a video, but that is a far more common way to communicate nowadays than it ever was before. And if you're an old guy like me, then sometimes you don't think of things like that. You don't think of video as a great way to communicate within a company. We've seen them on TV for decades, but it's a different form of video when it's within the company. I love that idea. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it works. It works great.
Obviously, yeah, you've had some good experience with it, so it works. So that's all we need to say, right? It works. That can be the simplified version. It works.
Yes.
All right,
As
question
long
number.
as it's not really long.
Is there? Yeah, well, yeah, that's what's so great about it works. It's 2 words, so it's really short. All right, I'm very excited to hear this next question here, the last question. Everybody that's been watching or listening to the podcast knows I'm a big baseball fan. So when I have a guest that has a story they'd love to share, I'm always excited to hear it. I don't know what the story is, but I'm excited to hear it because you told me before we started the recording it was going to be funny. So I'm excited. All right, Karen, share with us your baseball story.
Well, back in 1991, I was actually a bus driver for a performing group called Up With People. It was a 54-passenger bus. It was the job that I had at the time. I loved it. Very different from what I'm doing now. But I was traveling through Chicago, and a good friend of mine lived there. Now, this was back in the days when we didn't have cell phones. So I was at a rest stop, called her from a payphone, and said, I want to have dinner with you tonight. I have 2 hours that the cast is going to be on a quick stopover. I want you to call the Wrigley Stadium and ask them if I can park the bus there, because that's about the only place that I could imagine being able to park this bus. She hung up the phone, just shocked, going, what? How am I going to do this? So she looks in the yellow pages, calls Wrigley Stadium. She probably got to 3 different people, finally gets to some guy that says, all right, she can do it. Tell him Manny sent you, have her park in there, but you can only park for 3 hours. And she just couldn't believe that first of all, that I asked her to do that. I basically just hung up and said, if you can't, I'll call you in an hour. If you can't do it, fine. But if you can, I can have dinner with you. And I just instilled that confidence in her because she was terrified. She goes, I didn't know but I really wanted to have dinner with you. But here, I mean, that would never happen today. But there I was parking my bus in Wrigley Stadium because Manny said I could.
So you're best friends with Manny now, because now you can
Yes.
park your bus wherever you want in Wrigley Stadium with Manny's pro. Hey, Manny sent me. Yeah, I can park it now.
So it had nothing to do with me watching the game. Everything to do with parking the bus.
But how many people can tell the story that they park their bus at Wrigley Stadium? I mean, I think that's just you, Karen. Only you have the rights to that kind of a story. I think that's awesome. That's a great story. So you didn't even go to the game, though. Well, that's a little bit of a heartbreaker, but
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm teasing. Well, Karen, this has been awesome. Obviously, a very lighthearted but very meaningful and insightful discussion about leadership in teams and a little bit about bus driving at baseball stadiums. So that's fun. Karen, how can people get a hold of you?
My website, KarenLaos.com. And my last name is spelled Laos. I'm also on Instagram daily, Karen Laos Official. And I have a podcast called Ignite Your Confidence with Karen Laos, which is for women in leadership who want to speak up and stand out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining me today. And thanks to all of you who are watching or listening. We appreciate your attention every week. And we look forward to being with you again next time. Thanks so much. Have a great day. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, go to teamengagementpodcast.com. We also invite you to follow or subscribe to our podcast wherever you may be listening or watching. Is your business thriving? Go to tbs-score.com to find out. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.